Ce à quoi nous assistons véritablement aujourd'hui, la vraie guerre que nous vivons aujourd'hui, c'est une guerre qui n'est pas politique, mais une guerre idéologique. C'est une guerre des idées. Le fascisme, nouvelle formule, tel que nous le voyons aujourd'hui, on va l'appeler comme ça, n'a plus rien à voir avec ses prédécesseurs. C'est désormais un fascisme néolibéral, socialo-maçonnique. Il s'agit d'une entente mondiale pour la sécurité, autour, vous le voyez, de la santé, de l'écologie, de l'environnement. Il s'agit d'une entente mondiale soi-disant pour la paix. Il s'agit d'une entente mondiale chargée surtout d'étouffer toute voix discordante, tout visage qui s'opposera dorénavant à la doxa. Nous assistons donc à une lutte philosophique et fratricide entre deux courants totalement opposés. Ce qui est très bien exposé par M. Deleuze, que je tiens spécialement à remercier vraiment pour cette minute. D'un côté, vous avez les transhumanistes, cette confrérie illuminatiste qui pense que l'homme est maître de lui-même, que en fait c'est un nouveau Dieu qui contrôle la nature, qu'il peut même nous rajouter des années de vie, qui nous prive de notre âme et veut guider notre conscience. C'est une caste dont le but ultime serait la maîtrise du monde, détruisant toutes les religions, les unes après les autres, pour l'instauration de ce nouvel ordre mondial. Et comme les transhumanistes estiment que l'humanité reste aujourd'hui une mécanique imparfaite, que l'homme est imparfait, eh bien ils pensent réellement pouvoir le faire en changeant les choses, avec bien sûr la dépossession de nos corps à la clé.
Schwab's Great Reset includes what he calls the Fourth Industrial Revolution. This, he claims, will lead to the fusion of our physical, digital and biological identities. Schwab said that in the next 10 years, we will have intelligent microchips implanted into our bodies, which will communicate with devices outside our bodies and help us to develop into superhumans, to quote a video called The Fourth Industrial Revolution, available even now on the website of the World Economic Forum. But this transhumanist project is therefore the official policy of the Davos elites. Of course, it is presented as progress, robotic limbs and that sort of thing. But in fact, it is very sinister. Harari has said, the whole idea that humans have soul or spirit and nobody knows what's happening inside them, and they have free will, that's over. In other words, transhumanism aims to transform humans into robots. Free will, that's over. Transhumanism is the end of humanism and the end of humanity. Now, most normal people like you, dear viewer, will dismiss such cheap science fiction as ridiculous nonsense. But unfortunately, Harari's ideas are taken very seriously by very powerful people, and his books have sold tens of millions of copies. He is believed by Schwab, who boasts that Davos penetrates governments around the world. And the reason why he is believed is that crazy people throughout history have indeed wanted to create a new man. Hitler wanted to create physically superior beings through eugenics. The Bolsheviks wanted to create Soviet man whose behavior would be socialist and not individualist. Davos and Harari aim to do both, to create a physically and intellectually superior being which elites can control for the so-called greater good. For instance, to save the planet, or to prevent people from voting for Trump. But none of this will ever work, of course, because there is such a thing as human nature, and it does not change. But the attempt to change it, as Hitler's and Stalin's experiments showed us, can cause horrific damage. The transhumanist danger is no less a danger than the Nazi or communist danger, and that is why at Forum for Democracy we are determined to fight it.
I started taking a story about the World Economic Forum that I thought was just a conspiracy theory. I started looking into it more and more. It accounted for what I was observing, that there is a group of very high net worth individuals that have written about these various issues of transhumanism and the Great Reset, the need to reduce the population in the world, and controlling governments, placing leaders throughout industry and government in all of the Western nations, and setting up for this Great Reset that their ostensible leader or spokesperson, Klaus Schwab, writes about in which they speak as one of the core principles of a future in which you will own nothing and be happy. And by extension, they will own everything.
There's a joint report from the government of the UK and Germany about transhumanism.
Explain for anybody who doesn't know. Transhumanism, explain it, break it down.
So transhumanism is the belief, is the technology suite, I think is the best way to put it, around the idea of both mechanical and biological modification of humans for improved longevity and performance, I think, in general. And could be improved cognition also. So
doesn't this strike anyone as maybe territory we shouldn't go into?
So that's the fascinating thing about this government report from Germany and the UK. That, like I said, we covered in our Substack. It's readily available. It's in circulation. And they say basically we have to do it because the other guy's doing it. And they acknowledge that there are ethical barriers that have to be breached. And they basically say outright, we don't have any choice. We have to do it because the other guys are doing it. And of course, the other guys, by inference, is the People's Republic of China. And for sure, the PRC has no barriers to doing anything.
Do I have it right to say we are now messing with things that Mengele and others were trying to mess with? They just didn't have the technology, and they may have been quacks. But we're trying now to do the same thing with technology that may actually make it work.
Mechanical augmentation for sure. We can look forward to that. And we can look forward to the robotic products that have been developed with DARPA.
So I don't have a problem if you're talking about prosthetic arms and legs and things like that.
No, we're talking about battle suits in the way that we've seen play out in science fiction with augmented performance and embedded in all kinds of embedded transducers for instead of this, it's part of us, right? And augmentation in brain performance and all kinds of things. Yeah. So you mentioned the People's Republic, and that seems to be the logic that's being floated right now. Is they're already doing it. And if we don't want to be left behind, we have to do it too. And the ethics be damned, because it's a matter of national security. That's what I read.
I want to talk to you today about the future of our species, and really the future of life. We are probably one of the last generations of Homo sapiens, because in the coming generations, we will learn how to engineer bodies and brains and minds. These will be the main products of the economy, of the 21st century economy. Not textiles and vehicles and weapons, but bodies and brains and minds.
Άρα αλλάζει τις συνήθειες, μήπως αλλάζει και το γονιδίωμα, δηλαδή μήπως με έναν τρόπο έμεσο φτάνουμε σε έναν άλλον τύπο ανθρώπου, ο οποίος πρέπει να συνομιλεί με αυτό το περιβάλλον το οποίο είναι τεχνητό, μηχανικό και ούτω καθεξής. Δηλαδή, μήπως πηγαίνουμε σε ένα σύνθετο όντο ανθρωπομηχανής, ας πούμε, σε μια άλλη ανθρώπινη κατάσταση που θα έλεγε η Χάνα Άρεντ.
Θέτει άμεσα θέματα και στο εργασιακό και στο εκπαιδευτικό και γενικότερα σε ένα ευρύτερο κοινωνικό συμβόλαιο που πρέπει να ξαναγραφτεί για το πώς θα συμβιβάσουμε αυτή την επέλαση της τεχνολογίας.
Δηλαδή δεν είμαστε πλέον μόνοι μας στο κοινωνικό συμβόλαιο. Δεν είναι ένα συμβόλαιο μόνο μεταξύ ανθρώπων. Πρέπει να λάβουμε υπόψη μας και μη ανθρώπινους παράγοντες που έχει δημιουργήσει ο άνθρωπος. Πλέον συνυπάρχουν. Και αυτό είναι αρκετά πολύπλοκο.
Παρ' όλα αυτά, άνθρωπος με τη βοήθεια μηχανής κερδίζει τη μηχανή. Δηλαδή, η συμπληρωματική νοημοσύνη ανθρώπου και μηχανής ενάντια σε μια μηχανή κερδίζει. Οπότε αυτό το παράδειγμα κάπως μας δίνει κάπως μια ανάγλυφη αναπαράσταση του πώς βλέπω εγώ το μέλλον να εξελίσσεται.